Assalamualaikum students. This is the second part of the neuroanatomy of medulla oblongata, and in this we will study the medulla oblongata at higher levels, that is the open part of the medulla oblongata. Open part of the medulla oblongata. So far we have covered the closed part, that is in which the spinal canal is present, and this spinal canal, it opens up into the fourth ventricle, fourth ventricle, into the fourth ventricle. So this fourth ventricle is the cavity of the brain, and partly this is present in the medulla and partly in the pons. So this diamond shaped structure is present in the pons and the medulla. So the open part of medulla, this is the open part of medulla, this one here. Now the gray matter in the open part of medulla is the presence of the inferior olivary nuclei, the olivary complex. Apart from inferior olivary nucleus, two other olivary nuclei are present, which are the medial and dorsal olivary nuclei. They are the smaller ones, but the larger one is the inferior olivary nucleus, which produces bulge on the anterior aspect of the medulla called the olives. Now arcuate nuclei, these are present anterior to the pyramids, we will see later on. Then the vestibulocochlear nuclei. So these are partly present in pons and partly in the medulla. Then the spinal nucleus of trigeminal nerve and its tract. Then the nuclei for the 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th cranial nerve. Nucleus ambiguous, nucleus of solitary tract, inferior salivatory nuclei, dorsal nucleus of vagus, and nucleus of hypoglossal nerve. So, the section of the medulla oblongata at the level of olives. Now this transverse section, it passes across the inferior part of the fourth ventricle. Now in this section you can see that the gray matter has increased in amount owing to presence of olivary nuclear complexes. This is the olivary nuclear complexes. The nuclei of vestibulocochlear, glossopharyngeal, vagus, accessory and hypoglossal nerves, and the arcuate nuclei. The olivary nuclear complex, the largest nucleus of this complex is the inferior olivary nuclei. The gray matter is shaped like a crumpled bag with its mouth directed medially. Here you can see the crumpled bag, which mouth is directed medially. You can see here. It is responsible for the elevation on the surface of the medulla called the olive. Smaller dorsal and medial accessory olivary nuclei also are present. Here you can see medial and dorsal accessory nuclei. The cells of the inferior olivary nucleus send fibers medially across the midline to enter the cerebellum. Now the cells of the inferior olivary nucleus send fibers medially across the midline to enter the cerebellum through the inferior cerebellar peduncle, and afferent fibers reach the inferior olivary nuclei from the spinal cord, that is the spino-olivary tract, and from the cerebellum and cerebellar cortex. The function of the olivary nucleus is associated with voluntary muscle movements. Now, vestibular nuclei, the vestibular nuclear complex is made up of following nuclei: medial vestibular nucleus, this is the medial vestibular nucleus, and inferior vestibular nucleus, lateral vestibular nucleus, and superior vestibular nucleus. The medial and inferior vestibular nuclei can be seen on the section at this level. Medial and the inferior vestibular nuclei, they can be seen at this level. There are two cochlear nuclei, the anterior cochlear nucleus, anterior cochlear nucleus, and the posterior cochlear nucleus. The anterior cochlear nucleus is situated on the anterolateral aspect of the inferior cerebellar peduncle. This is the anterior cochlear nucleus, and this is the posterior cochlear nucleus, you can see here. And of course, they are related to the posterior cochlear nucleus is situated on the posterior aspect of the peduncle, lateral to the floor of the fourth ventricle. Here you can see that it is lying lateral to the floor of the fourth ventricle, and the connections of these nuclei are with the cochlear nerve. Nucleus ambiguus. The nucleus ambiguus consists of large motor neurons and is situated deep within the reticular formation. So this is the nucleus ambiguus. Nucleus ambiguus. Here you can see nucleus ambiguus. It is found in deep in the reticular formation of the medulla. The emerging nerve fibers join the glossopharyngeal, vagus, and cranial part of accessory nerve and are distributed to the voluntary skeletal muscles. Central gray matter lies between the floor of the fourth ventricle at this level, beneath the floor of the fourth ventricle. Now this is the central gray matter and it is lying beneath the floor of the fourth ventricle. And passing from medial to lateral, the following important structures can be recognized. From medial to lateral, following important structures can be recognized. First of all, the hypoglossal nucleus, then the dorsal nucleus of vagus, nucleus of tractus solitarius, medial and inferior vestibular nuclei. The nucleus ambiguus referred to above has become deeply placed within the reticular formation. The connection, now here you can see the hypoglossal nucleus, the dorsal vagus nucleus, nucleus of tractus solitarius, and the vestibular, medial vestibular and inferior vestibular nuclei. So they are lying in the floor of the fourth ventricle. The arcuate nuclei are thought to be inferiorly displaced pontine nuclei, and they are situated on the anterior surface of the pyramid. So these are the arcuate nuclei and they are lying on the anterior surface of the pyramid. They receive nerve fibers from the cerebral cortex and send efferent fibers to the cerebellum through the anterior external arcuate fibers. The pyramids containing the corticospinal and some corticonuclear fibers are situated in the anterior part of medulla, separated by the anterior median fissure. So you can see here the anterior median fissure separating the two pyramids. The corticospinal fibers descend to the spinal cord and corticonuclear fibers are distributed to the motor nuclei of cranial nerve situated within the medulla. The medial lemniscus. Now, the medial lemniscus, it forms a flattened track on each side of the midline posterior to the pyramid. So, these are the medial lemniscus. Medial lemniscus. Medial lemniscus here. This one is the medial lemniscus and this lies immediately posterior to the pyramids. These fibers emerge from decursation of the lemnisci and convey sensory information to the thalamus. So from sensory decursation, they ascend in the medial lemniscus and they convey sensory information to the thalamus. Now, the medial longitudinal fasciculus forms a small tract of nerve fibers situated on each side of the midline, posterior to the medial lemniscus and anterior to the hypoglossal nuclei. So, these are the medial longitudinal fasciculus, and it consists of ascending and descending fibers, the connections of which will be discussed later. The inferior cerebellar peduncle is situated in the posterolateral corner of the section on the lateral side of the fourth ventricle. So this is the inferior cerebellar peduncle on each side. You can see the spinal tract of trigeminal nerve and its nucleus are situated on the anteromedial aspect of the inferior cerebellar peduncle. Anterolateral aspect of this one. The anterior spinocerebellar tract is situated near the surface in the interval between the inferior olivary nucleus and the nucleus of spinal tract of trigeminal nerve. So this is the anterior spinocerebellar tract. You can see here anterior spinocerebellar tract. It is lying between the inferior olivary nucleus and the surface. The spinal lemniscus consisting of anterior spinothalamic tract and lateral spinothalamic tract and the spinotectal tracts is deeply placed. So the spinal lemniscus, so this is deeply placed here, spinal lemniscus. The reticular formation consisting of diffuse mixture of nerve fibers and small groups of nerve cells is deeply placed posterior to the olivary nucleus. The reticular formation represents at this level only a small part of this system, which is also present in the pons and the medulla. And one of the nucleus, that is nucleus ambiguus, I have told you that it lies deep in the reticular formation. The glossopharyngeal, vagus, and cranial part of accessory nerves can be seen running forward and laterally through the reticular formation. Not shown here. I will show in the next diagram. And the nerve fibers emerge between the olive and the inferior cerebellar peduncle. The hypoglossal nerves also run anteriorly and laterally through the reticular formation and emerge between the pyramid and the olives. In this picture, you can see the fibers of the vagus nerve running anterolaterally, and here the hypoglossal nerve emerging between the pyramid and the olives. Here you can see this is the hypoglossal nerve and this is the vagus nerve. So level just inferior to the pons. Now there are no major changes in comparison to the previous level in the distribution of the gray and white matter. Only the lateral vestibular nucleus has replaced the inferior vestibular nucleus, and the cochlear nuclei are now visible on the anterior and posterior surfaces of the inferior cerebellar peduncle. So you can see here the posterior cochlear nucleus. Initially it was lying here at the lower level and anterior here, while now at this level it lies just anterior, just adjacent to the inferior cerebellar peduncle. So posterior cochlear nucleus lies here and anterior cochlear nucleus lies just anterior to the inferior cerebellar peduncle, and the inferior vestibular nucleus is replaced by the lateral vestibular nucleus. So this is the only change which occurs at this level. Rest of the things are the same. Come to know that the essence spinal cord, the medulla oblongata consists of white matter and gray matter, but study of transverse sections of this region showed that they have been extensively rearranged. Now, this rearrangement can be explained embryologically by the expansion of the neural tube to form the hindbrain vesicle, which becomes the fourth ventricle. Now here you can see this is the development of spinal cord, and you can see here this is the central canal, which is gradually becoming the neural canal, which is gradually becoming narrow, and this forms the central canal. And here is the arrangement of the alar plate and basal plate, which forms the ventral horn, that is motor nuclei, and dorsal horn, that is the sensory nuclei. Now here you can see in the medulla oblongata the extensive lateral spread of fourth ventricle results in alteration in the position of the derivatives of alar and basal plates. You can see here the alar plate and the basal plate here in spinal cord, while the alar plate and basal plate, they lie medially and laterally. Here they lie anteroposteriorly, here they lie medially and laterally. Now, to assist in understanding this concept, remember that in the spinal cord, the derivatives of the alar and basal plates are situated posterior and anterior to the sulcus limitans. This is the sulcus limitans, and the alar plate and basal plate are located anterior, and posterior in position. And in case of medulla oblongata, they are situated lateral and medial to the sulcus limitans. So this is the sulcus limitans. This is the sulcus limitans, and here you can see that the alar plate is located laterally and the basal plate is located medially. The internal structure of medulla oblongata is considered at 4 levels, as I have told you. Here you can see the motor nuclei, they are lying medially, while the sensory nuclei, they are lying laterally. So blood supply of medulla. The medulla is supplied by various branches of the vertebral arteries. Now these are the anterior and posterior spinal arteries, the posterior inferior cerebellar artery, and small direct branches. So four types of arteries are there: anterior spinal artery, posterior inferior cerebellar artery, and direct branches. So these are all coming from the vertebral artery. These are all the branches of vertebral arteries which are supplying the medulla oblongata. The anterior spinal artery supplies a triangular area next to the midline. This area includes the pyramid. You can see here it is shown in the yellow part. This includes the pyramid, the medial lemniscus, and the here the hypoglossal nuclei. So pyramid, medial lemniscus, and hypoglossal nuclei. The posterior spinal artery supplies a small area, including the gracile and the cuneate nuclei. So gracile and cuneate nuclei, here posterior area, it is supplied by the posterior spinal artery. The posterior inferior cerebellar artery supplies the retroolivary region, the region behind the olivary nucleus. This is the region behind the olivary nucleus, and including the spinothalamic tracts, the rubrospinal tracts, the nucleus ambiguus, the dorsal vagus nucleus, and the descending autonomic fibers. Now, the posterior inferior cerebellar artery also supplies part of the inferior cerebellar peduncle. So, this is inferior cerebellar peduncle, and it is also supplied. It is supplied by the inferior cerebellar artery. The rest of the medulla is supplied by direct branches, direct bulbar branches of the vertebral artery shown in this green area. So, this is supplied by the direct vertebral branches. Direct branches of the vertebral arteries. Now, thrombosis in any artery supplying the medulla oblongata produces symptoms depending upon the structures involved. So, anterior spinal artery, a branch of vertebral artery, it supplies the region to the midline and the part containing the pyramid and the medial lemniscus and the hypoglossal nucleus. And loss of blood supply from the anterior spinal artery results in anterior medullary syndrome, medial medullary syndrome. While posterior inferior cerebellar artery, a branch of vertebral artery, it supplies the lateral and dorsal sides of the medulla oblongata, and blockage of this artery results in lateral medullary syndrome or syndrome of the posterior inferior cerebellar artery. So this is the medial medullary syndrome, which results due to blockage of the anterior spinal artery, and in this you can see the pyramids are affected, the medial lemniscus, the tectospinal tract is affected, and the symptoms are the medial part of the medulla oblongata is supplied by the vertebral artery. Thrombosis of the medullary branch produces the following signs and symptoms. Contralateral hemiparesis, that is, the pyramidal tracts are affected in the pyramid. Contralateral hemiparesis, because they decursate, so contralateral hemiparesis. Contralateral impaired sensation of position and movement and tactile discrimination, because medial lemniscus is affected. And ipsilateral paralysis of tongue muscles with deviation to the paralyzed side when the tongue is protruded, that is, the hypoglossal nucleus is affected. In lateral medullary syndrome of Wallenberg, so medial medullary syndrome due to loss of blood supply to ventral side of medulla oblongata by the anterior spinal artery, it is supplied by the anterior spinal artery, and structures affected will be the pyramid, the medial lemniscus, the hypoglossal nucleus, and this will lead to the ipsilateral paralysis of tongue on the same side due to damage to the glossopharyngeal nuclei, and contralateral hemiplegia due to crossed pyramid damage, and loss of touch and kinesthetic sense on the opposite side due to medial lemniscus damage, because the sensory fibers have also decursated. Now the lateral medullary syndrome, lateral part of the medulla oblongata is supplied by the posterior inferior cerebellar artery, which is usually a branch of the vertebral artery, and thrombosis of either of these arteries produces the sign and symptoms known as the lateral medullary syndrome. And in this, dysphagia and dysarthria due to paralysis of the ipsilateral, palatal and laryngeal muscles innervated by the nucleus ambiguus, analgesia and thermoanesthesia on the ipsilateral side of the face, nucleus and the spinal tract of trigeminal nerve damage, vertigo, nausea, vomiting, nystagmus, vestibular nuclei, ipsilateral Horner syndrome, descending sympathetic fibers are affected. Ipsilateral cerebellar signs of gait and limb ataxia. This is cerebellum or the inferior cerebellar peduncle is affected, and contralateral loss of sensation of pain and temperature, that is spinal lemniscus or spinothalamic tract is affected. You can see the structures affected will be the nucleus ambiguus, spinal tract of trigeminal nerve, uncrossed fibers, spinal lemniscus, these are crossed one, hypothalamo-spinal fibers of the sympathetic system, and vestibular nuclei. The loss of nucleus ambiguous function paralysis, laryngeal platal, paralyzes the laryngeal platal and pharyngeal muscles on the side, causing dysphonia and dysphagia. So patient presents with dysphonia and dysphagia, loss of uncrossed spinal tract of trigeminal nerve and of the crossed spinal lemniscus results in pain, loss of pain and temperature sensation on the same side of the face and opposite side of the body. will be a Horner syndrome on the ipsilateral side due to interruption of the descending hypothalamospinal fibers of the sympathetic pathways. So sympathetic fibers are affected, which results in Horner syndrome. Involvement of the vestibular nuclei causes vertigo and nystagmus with nausea and vomiting.